Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of Factorio. This is episode number 9, I do believe. This is where we are actually going to rebuild our main part of our base, the automation part. And a quick little intro today because I have been busy in between episodes fighting the bad guys. I've been pillaring out, that's a bit of a Minecraft term right there, but you know what I mean, using these electric poles to go out, place down lasers and destroy the bases. So we kind of got to this point where after upgrading these to the next level, we did both the final damage and final speed, so there are no more upgrades for these left, I do believe. We are now stronger than the aliens again, and I had this feeling like that would only last for so long, so I decided best thing to do is to go out there and clear out the aliens. So we had some nests in this area over here where the cursor is, we had some down in this area, these are the last ones that I've just done, also over here as well, and a big nest up around there. So they have all been cleared out. If you have a look here, it's a nice big sort of square area around where we are. The pollution cloud is going over, into a few areas where the nests are, but we have done a terrific job clearing that out, and I have something that is proof of my hard work. Look at all of this right here. Absolutely amazing. I also found my car. Cannot remember if I mentioned, whoa, that I had one of these or not. This guy right here, I tend to just walk off and leave him behind, and so every now and then I find it, and it's extremely useful for getting around. It's just, yeah, like I said, I tend to forget about things. So, everything is going really well in the base. I have mostly been producing the blue circuits, I forget the name of them. I try to remember ever so hard, but it doesn't come to my mind. So these things over here, look at that, we need to make even more of them now. I've even put in some upgrades for the speed modules on these things, and everything's going alright over here. Decided to leave all of this in, so we're still producing stuff if ever we need something over here. But now we're going to start, and I just put down some tracks to kind of figure out where the beginning of this would be, and I don't really want to talk about it too much more. I want to actually just build it and show you it when this thing is kind of underway. So we will do that once I've actually built something. Okay, here we are at the beginning of this this new base construction automation area, whatever you want to call it. I am so excited about how this is going actually. So I decided to put materials on the line. They are coming from our previous setup, so the overflow comes through here, and I thought that would be a cool idea. Just so we can actually test this thing out a little bit, and it has been pretty interesting. But I decided what I wanted to do was have two main lines of iron through the middle and one main line of copper. And as I said, I've been watching some other YouTubers, and one thing they tend to do is space out this area quite a lot. We had everything compressed, which kind of does the same job, but having it spaced out, isn't so bad. It doesn't really slow things down. It makes your buffers bigger, and it's easier to work with. So we're doing that, and I just had a little bit of a trouble with this corner right here. I was thinking, how are we going to get these two to merge? The way we want these to merge is so that if one side is slow and not producing as much as the other, then that's not going to inhibit this one and make it back up, which is what it's doing at the moment. There's all this free space, which will come from the other side, because of the side these things put their items on. And it took me a while to figure this out, but I do believe the way to do it is to actually get it onto both sides of the track earlier on, and then this splitter right here should be good. Now I don't know if there's a bias, like it's going to come out from one side more than it is the other when there's a full stream of these iron cogs, and if there is, I don't think it's going to create too much of a problem, but we know that this isn't going to stop anything from going through if there is a shortage or anything like that, because it puts it on both sides of the tracks, so that should work just fine. Let's get this thing going. Let's see it in action a little bit here. I'm going to expand this assembly a little bit, and we're getting attacked down the corner there. That's interesting because I went and cleared out some nests. Maybe it's this one right here and that one that needs sorting out, which is something I might do, but for now I want to focus on this. In fact, next episode, maybe if we're still stronger than the aliens, we will do... Oh, it looks like I missed a track. We'll do a little bit of clearing out on camera, something like that. So that will go through like that. Awesome. I think we solved the problem. If there is a shortage on one side, the other side takes over, and the only problem would be is if one side had priority, but then again, I don't know, it just means that iron's coming off of a different line over here rather than it being even, which may or may not make sense, but there we go. What I think we're going to do here is have two lines. We're going to put something else on this one. I'm going to have a look at the tech tree a little bit and see if we can plan ahead. So we'll have two lines here, three in the middle. We'll have a gap of two and another two lines over here, so we're going to have production coming in on either side, and this thing's just going to get bigger and bigger as we go along, but it's going to be awesome. And there's also room to expand this. This should line up with, look at that, lines up with the edge of it perfectly. So if ever we need a ridiculous amount of these for some reason, then we can do that. And also these things, by the way, are the second tier. That's because they go faster. We could even put a speed module in as well, but there might be some threshold because of these fast inserters, which is something we will look at later on. But for now, I'm just going to move on to whatever is the next thing I think we need to build here. Just had another cool idea for this setup, by the way. If ever there's a shortage on one side of the iron, then something that would be cool would be a splitter. So we could put one of those right here in line with the other ones, and then that would distribute it evenly onto either side, which is really cool. That's a nice little feature right there, and I think we should try and follow this principle wherever we can. The design of this place is going extremely well. Have a look at this. So one thing to talk about here is the double track. It's coming off of a single one, so if this was using all of the copper coming through, then yeah, it wouldn't keep up. I'm not really sure if this means anything. Like, are these ever going to be used fast enough for this to be relevant since it comes off a single track? I've got a feeling that that might have been a silly idea, but I wanted to do it like that, and it's fine. If ever we need to change it, you know, we can just move this all over by one, and I think spaciousness is such a good thing. Like, there's lots of spaces everywhere, but it certainly does work out. So anyway, over here, things are actually a little bit more compact. We'll talk about that in a moment. So as I set this up, I started off with 2 lines, and then I went, hang on a minute, these things are only going to take off the line next to them. Do we want to use the long-handed inserters? They are kind of slow. And on reflection, we probably actually going to have the long-handed inserters for the iron. But then it still would have been a bit of a funky setup, because on the other side it would have been the other way around. So I got thinking, and I decided to do it like this. So if we have a look over here, we split this up, then we split it up again into 2 different things that go to either side of the track. And then over here, I could have done the same thing, but I decided to take it from either side of the iron, which is something to think about, really, the kind of balance that we're taking from either side. So we're doing it here, we're doing it here again. You know, later down the line, it might be a bit of a problem if we're taking off of one side of the line and the other side is more replenished. But if that is a problem, I guess we could feed this one into that line as well using splitters. These things are ever so cool. I really do like them. I'm really starting to see the use of them now. Yeah, so what this one is doing is it's splitting on this side, putting it down there. That one's just going around like this, and it just about fits in this gap right here, which is really cool. So I started to think a little bit about these inserters here. If you have a look, this guy is going at that speed, and this guy's going a lot slower. So I'm going to guess, boom, it gets crafted really quickly, which makes me wonder if perhaps the way to do this is like so. But this would be based on demand as well. So let's just put 2 there and there. And this line is now full up, so what we're going to have to do is put it on this one over here. So with 2 of them feeding in, look at that, it's going faster. I think that's the way to go. We're going to have 2 of them on each one. And then when the demand is high, the materials are going to pour in and the circuits are going to get made. Oh, this game is so cool. Doesn't it look amazing? I love this setup. This is going really well so far, and we're going to continue. By the way, I'm actually following the principle we did on the previous one. We've got the copper, we got the copper cables, iron clogs, electronic circuits. If we head back over here, you'll see we started off that way over here as well. We can kind of zoom out to see that. So the next thing to do is actually to produce the potions, I think. Although I might actually do steel, because we kind of unlock that later on. I think it might be a little bit better just to put it in earlier on this line. So that'll probably be the next thing that I do. And by the way, one of the things we're going to have to do is build a new array for smelting all of the raw ore. So if we do that in this area over here, once all of this is finished, then it's closer to our buffer system as well. So we would route these tracks up in this direction. And look at this, these guys are wasting loads of power. Let's remove these. I'm going to go around, I think, and do a little bit of a maintenance check on all the different sites, just make sure everything is okay. I imagine our copper incoming now is actually pretty slow, and I do need to make some more chests for... What do I need to make chests for? For the buffer, yes, it was starting to fill up on a couple of things. You can see over here the iron isn't really moving on the... Actually, no, the input for iron is. The input for coal isn't, so that one needs more. But yeah, there's things to do all over the place, so I'll get on top of that now, take a break from working on this thing. But doesn't it look awesome? This is what the game is about, man, making a decent system like this. And I've got a feeling this is a good setup. It's that time. It's time for another update. So, I've just realised something over here. I'm kind of new to all the oil stuff. If you click on it, you can see how much crude oil you're producing. This one over here is a lot lower, and this one has just been moved from over there, by the way. So, that one, this one, and this one here are producing 0.1 a second. That's not good. Now, I think it can last for a long time like that, maybe. I'm not 100% sure, because when we hover over these patches, my battery is kind of in the way, which is a little bit annoying. I've noticed that actually. If you look at it here though, you can see it tells you a little bit about it. So yield 343%. This one yield 10%. So there you go. That's why it was so slow. So now we should see a lot more production of plastic. This stuff was slowing up the whole system, and hopefully now it will speed up a little bit and we'll see more of these come around, because we're not really producing much of anything. I could do potions and more stuff like that. I don't know why I'm not really. It's a little bit silly. But I like having everything in the system kind of ready for me to pick stuff up as I'm building the new ones. So over here we're just going to focus on these things. We're getting loads of them, which is really cool. And let me grab some more of these. But let's go and have a look at the system that we're building. I think we're going to move on to potions in a moment. There's two things we need to do. It's conveyor belts and, yes, the inserters. There you go, it came to me eventually. And once we've done those, then we're going to do the green and the red ones together. That kind of makes sense, because then we can send them off into the new science station area, science lab, which we're going to rebuild over in this area. And doesn't it look great? Doesn't it look really good? I do like it. By the way, we've been attacked over here on this side quite a lot. There's a lot of pollution over there because we've got tons of mining drills going on. So, yeah, that's something I felt like mentioning. And, yeah, steel has done its job. It's all backed up. It's looking real good. And that was what I was going to show you. That's why we came over here, wasn't it? So once again, following the same kind of layout. Looks like I've actually missed a bit of track right there where I've been doing some work on it. And it's all good. It's looking pretty good, isn't it? So we've got steel on the tracks. And like I said, the next ones to do, if we zoom all the way out, are the inserters and the tracks. So things are looking good. We have added the inserters and we've got the conveyor belts over there. At the moment, we just got a trickle of items coming into the system. So because of that, you know, things aren't backed up all the way, and it's taking a while for the system to catch up. But obviously, when we get to the real setup, we're going to have something proper, delivering lots of iron into this. But anyway, let's have a look at what's going on here. So this was really tricky to set up. We have 3 lines over here. We're using long-handed inserters because we need 3 ingredients for this thing right here. And they all use 1 of each to make that, as you can see. So I decided that what we'd do is have our line of materials in the middle be the one that's just one thing, because these are slightly slower, and that seemed pretty logical. So then on either side we've got sets of 2 items, which are actually really tricky to split up. And I'm really glad that we put a 2-block gap between this line. Although we can put conveyor belts going across this way and make a gap, I like how this works. So anyway, let's take a look at what's going on. We're splitting up the cogs twice, and the way this is arranged was to fit in between these and keep the pattern that we had going. So because of that, we have this little loop over here that comes down, and we're taking iron from either side of the track. Always going to try and keep that even load between either side, I think. And so yeah, the iron and the cogs come down and they go into this little trisection thing right here, and they split up on either side, which is pretty cool. And I've just noticed that they're not mirrored, if you know what I mean. They're parallel, I think. Either way, I'm not bothered because it's done. So then over here, we send in the iron from either side, again trying to keep that even load. We also send in some cogs, iron cogs from either side, and I think this is quite straightforward. They split up here and go on that side. They go under here, and then they split up over there again. And yeah, that's that bit right there. So we're creating the conveyor belts. They're coming down onto this side, and we're just following the same pattern for each of the layouts, which I really like, and it's cool. And whenever we've got the same materials down here, I put one of these in to help get the materials into the end bit. And that means what's next is the potions, and these are on the opposite side, so they're going to get moved all the way up here. But we're going to make both the red and the green potions. That's going to be in this area, and then somewhere up the back here is going to be our science center. And there is absolutely tons of space to do all of this stuff. And I found my car. I was looking for that earlier. I left it over here. Okay, so yes, science is the next step. I think I'm going to now go and disassemble all of the science stuff in the previous line, because we're not researching anything, and there's loads of potions over there just sitting around doing nothing. So potions is now in place, and right as I go to hit record, I noticed this right here. Don't know why it's like that. There we go. So once again, the setup is pretty straightforward. I'm getting used to actually working in this tight space right here. One thing that is kind of getting in the way a little bit are these, so there's never an equal distance between each bit like this, just because of the way you need to arrange the stuff down here. But this one right here is a little bit more challenging. You can see what I've done, splitting up the iron like this. I like this because it means you don't have to build, well actually I guess it takes up the exact same space, because you could just have a track going around like that pointing up. And I might change that because that's a little bit silly, I guess. It doesn't really do much else than that, does it? But then over here it was a lot simpler because the bit that needed to go on the top side of the track was here, and the one at the bottom just comes from all the way down here, right past the side of these. As you can see, the other place to put this would be there, and they're in the way. So now we're producing all the green and red science potions, but if we have a look in here, you can see we have a ridiculous amount of them. That is because I've moved all the previous science stations, and if we get in the car, we can sort of head over there. Don't know how far we can actually get. Looks like we can go all the way in there. So you can see, that is one of the things I struggle with. Started disassembling a lot of the stuff in this area, including all of the science things. If we go over to this end, the science labs, and if we just pop out here for a second, there was actually a patch of iron underneath there, and I thought rather than send this into our buffer system, what we would do is send it down here to something that's a little bit closer, and so now it's going to go into this system before the buffer. So you can see over here, it has priority. So whenever that's low, you can see a little bit is coming from the buffer, which is pretty cool. And all of our coal is now running off the buffer. I can't remember if I told you that. We did run it off the chests that we had up there, the old buffer, for quite some time. And I have to keep expanding these simply because they fill up and then production stops. And at this rate, I don't think I'm ever going to make use of all of this stuff, but I really don't know how much of it you need in the end game. So anyway, let's walk back around here. The next thing I've got to do is start thinking about what comes next on the tracks, because we're getting very close to using oil. And if we have a look over here, we've done all of this up to here. And what we need to do next, we've done steel. Maybe we'll make a little area for crafting this sort of stuff. I'm not 100% sure, really. I think I'm going to have to take a step back and think about this. See, this one right here, no, this uses batteries. Okay, so it looks like everything after that point, except these ones actually. Oh no, there's plastics right there. Okay, yeah, so it definitely looks like we're now at the point where we need to use the oils. So the entire time we've been building the new system, the old one has been running, and I've still been working on it, just making sure it's going good. And the production of stuff here is kind of backed up actually. I just took some out of this chest, so it's now coming down the line. The thing that is the threshold is actually the crafting, which usually isn't the case at all. And for that reason, I guess we can keep these slower inserters. I can't believe how long I used them for. I never really took into consideration how much time these things save and the crafting speed and things like that. But we're getting there. We're learning stuff. And at the moment, this stuff right here is kind of thresholded. That isn't really a word. You know what I'm talking about. That's also because of this over here. So I increased the copper production a little bit. It hasn't really helped. We just need a better system overall for that, I do believe. So these are kind of slowing things down a little bit, but I'm surprised at just how much these are producing. We could actually upgrade these because there's so many materials, there's so much stuff just waiting to be crafted here. Although that would mean more electronic circuit usage, which means it wouldn't get around here, which is the threshold for this bit at the moment. So I'm probably not going to do what I thought I was going to do now I've talked about it. But I grabbed myself 200 of these, 200 of those. I got them in a chest right here, and I've got a chest over there that I've been keeping for quite some time full of the stuff. We've got 3,000 in there, and we can craft a whole bunch of these efficiency modules, and that's quite a lot, 40 of them. We could even put them into our new system, so I'm very pleased I stored those up. They are certainly going to be useful. But anyway, let's head back over here and look at what I've been doing, because I have put in another system. This one is a little bit different from everything else. We've got all of this space over here before we need to bring oils into the game, and so I thought, what can we do here? Actually, what we could do is the inserters. Now, I would like to automate long-handed inserters as well, but purely into a chest, and there's a whole bunch of other stuff coming up on the line that would also just be stuff that goes into a chest rather than onto the line. So we may do that over here before oils, but what we've done here is a pretty typical setup. I'll let you have a look at it again. We're pulling iron from either side of the track. We're pulling our circuits, which we're short of at the moment, down here. And it doesn't look like they get split up. Oh, I'm just failing to look at it correctly. Okay, so it splits up there and there. Yeah, and it gets split up on either side. So the decision I made here was based on the ingredients. If we actually have a look, what one is it we're making? Blue inserters. You can see it only needs one inserter as opposed to 4 other ingredients. So I put those ones on these belts because they get picked up fast by these inserters, and then the slower ones, the long-handed ones in the middle. That's a good way to do things. And then this system just leads around over here, but it's only temporary because all of this feeds straight into this one. You can see the electric circuits are coming down, and if I recall correctly, do these use quite a lot? Yeah, look at that. They use 5 items, and I was wondering if actually having 2 inserters would help the speed of this thing, which is something I might play around with later on, but at the moment it's not necessary because we don't have enough materials in here. But then that creates the smart inserters and brings them onto the line as well, and this place is looking cool. However, we don't have a lot of copper flowing into the system because we're still just running from the overhang of this one. So we're going to have this really interesting experience, I think, when we start making actual use of all of this. We'll see if the system we're going to build later on, which is going to smelt all the stuff using electric furnaces, if that will actually be able to provide enough materials for all of this, which is going to be quite interesting. But I'm very happy with this layout, and as always, we're going to continue working on it. So I just checked the episode length. I think actually this is a good point to wrap things up, because the next thing to do really is to bring oils into the system. And I just noticed these lamps and poles are the wrong way around, so I will correct that. But that is going to be it for this episode of Factorio. As always, I hope you have enjoyed the video, so thank you very much for watching, and I will catch you next time.